Hey guys, this is Wake here from Wake's Mods with another video. Today I want to do a replay video of one of my in-campaign sieges. This is from my Kong Rong campaign that I've been playing along with my mod that I've been continuously updating just to get a better feel of the new systems and like try out the way my modding process works, especially for the overhauls, is that I like to play the game while I'm playing. I like to be like, okay, this is what I like to change and this is what I need to change and this over here, and I like to do all these things at the start and then come up with a more cohesive plan as I move along, especially with this latest Total War, because this latest Total War has a lot of new features that I really think are cool and that I have wanted to, sort of get a game plan on. So this particular battle actually is not that big. I think it's two full It's two full armies, but no more than that. There's not like 4 armies in this battle, and there aren't that many units. I don't remember even if I'm having a full stack, but this battle goes for 60 minutes, as you can tell from the clock down here. I mean, it's a long battle, and it really showcases kind of where the battle mechanism is right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and start playing it, but this gives you a good idea as what I like and where I'm going with the mod as opposed to the vanilla stuff, because I could try and unfortunately I don't have the unit list, and I could like play this battle in vanilla just to show you the differences, but I'm gonna guess this would be something, at most this would be like a 20-minute battle in vanilla, I think. And battle times aren't necessarily just by themselves a more realistic thing or a better thing, but it is an indicator. There are lots of things that go into it. So I think the first thing I did was send in these spear guards, spear guards. So they have a lot of archers, and at this point in the campaign was the first time I had units that could have the turtle formation, and I looked at, not knowing prior that the turtle formation was 100% missile block chance. I'm actually using that now to exploit my enemy here by having them go up, and they're just gonna soak missile fire for me, because if they don't, this is actually going to be a close cut thing, because my siege battles compared to vanilla are like much more, they're harder, they're way harder, or they're easier. If you're a defender, you have a better chance of defending, but sieges you really do need 2 to 1, 1.5 to 1 odds. I can't remember what the ratio here was. I'm running like a 7,190 soldier army here. I think they might outnumber me. I can't recall, but they might, because they are yellow turbans and they have like just a bunch of peasants. And so, but even then, you're gonna find out that it's no walk in the park. Like this unit of peasants is 632 guys strong. So they're gonna start shooting at me, and right now, like I like to say this a lot, but it's true. Everything's work in progress, and I have projectiles mostly where I want them to be, because in vanilla they're just ridiculous. They're machine guns. They're accurate. They do way too much damage. There's so many things going on with projectiles. I'm assuming everybody's just gonna take. I mean, if you want to win the game in vanilla, just have an army of all archers. So, but right now they're really not. They're a good support unit, and that's what they're supposed to be. However, and this is a however, this particular unit, the archery masters, are performing way above spec at the moment. So obviously it's still work in progress, and you're going to see once they start shooting at units that don't have 100% block chance, they will absolutely murder them. I can't remember how many kills these guys get, but it's a lot. So the way I've kind of arrayed my forces here is I'm gonna come in and do as much work as I can with my archers. Oh, my mic was not right next to my mouth. I hope that wasn't not loud enough. So I'm gonna do. Hold on, guys. There you go. So I'm gonna do as much kind of softening up as I can with my archers, because I the work of this battle is going to be in the melee, and I don't want to lose a bunch of people because of these, avenues of defense that they have. So I think I'm just peppering these guys with arrows right now. So it's already probably looking way different than vanilla. I love the. It is the same engine as all the previous modern Total Wars, but it's the team that made Attila, and so all the special effects and there's more detailed stuff that goes on with the engine that you only see in this game in Attila, and the special effects specifically are one of those things. And I do like sort of nighttime winter battles or late in the day because it looks really cool, and then you get this nice effect where there's not a lot of lighting, so unless you're real uptight, everyone's like super dark. Being from somebody who's from Michigan, and I like to take long night walks in the winter, I like it. It reminds me of home. It's nice. So at this point, he charges out some peasants. Now, these archer towers are not as good at all as they are in vanilla. In vanilla, they are ridiculous. I have some cavalry over here waiting for them to kind of do something, and another cavalry force over here. In vanilla, they're ridiculous. In my mod, they will fire often, and they have like a high rate of fire, but they aren't really all that effective. They're more of a support role. Most of the ranged fire in my mod is kind of more of a support role. Maybe with the exception of crossbows. There's lots of things I want to work on to get where I want them to be. Like I want pike and crossbow gameplay. Still something we're working on. So, but hopefully that will be a thing that happens. Obviously, way bigger units. I think I have a bunch of G militia. And all of, like, the militia units, I want a lot of variation with. So eventually we're going to have, like, officers and captains who will be in this unit. In this unit right now, there's just soldiers and bannermen. And in anything like militia or a lower, basically, there's going to be, like, randomized flag placement. Whereas, like, if they're a more disciplined unit, they'll be in different places in the unit depending on what it is. So we're going to have lots of, variation on the unit depending on what it is. That's what I'll say with that. Yeah, I'm not sure these guys lose. Well, they've lost a few. They've killed a bomb. I mean, these guys are just peasants, so. Yes, to me, this is some of the meat and potatoes of Total War, because like Total War games have meant so many things to so many people. Everybody comes with a kind of a little bit different perspective. Some people like the campaign mechanics, other people like, whatever it happens to be. And one of the main reasons I've always loved Total War games is, I don't know if there's a good name for it. I'm going to call it the physics of tactical battles. Okay, so it's almost like the details of these tactical engagements. Because, this is what this is. This is tactics as opposed to strategy. And there is a... Oh, there's a lag spike. There is a spear guard formation here in turtle formation. And then there's like a few guys who are kind of meandering about outside and into this formation of peasants. And this is like... every one of these guys has a physics engine that's being applied to them, and then they're having AI as they work where they want to move and who they want to attack. And it's real freeform, and almost anything could happen in the details of this. You know what I mean? Where, like, this one guy's fighting this particular, whatever he is. I think that's a swordsman, yellow turban swordsman or whatever. And he decides for some reason that he wants to get back in the formation. He's like, I have had enough of that. So, but or he could have stayed out, and maybe some other guys could have came out too and helped him out. So, but there's stuff like that can happen that there isn't really a good. Total War pretty much has the monopoly on the market for this. And this is what the game is mainly about for me. However, and this is what I like about Three Kingdoms, is that I've always wanted more of a character-centric kind of Total War game. Something that would be like my ideal game would be something that's like Total War mixed with like Mount and Blade, mixed with like Crusader Kings 2. Something that combines the best elements of those games into one would be like my mecca for like, you know, ancient warfare, medieval warfare kind of game. But you can see I'm still firing arrows. I mean, this goes on for a while. The pre-engagement here, where I'm just kind of peppering their defenses and testing them, probing, goes on for maybe half, at least half of this battle. I think is me probing, and then eventually I do kind of break in, and then a lot of combat happens in this area, and then a little bit in the square at the end. But at that point, I mean, I don't win this battle with like, and spoilers, I win, but I don't win this battle with great. Look how mashed together these guys are. It's it's funny. I think this formation actually glitched a little bit because I told them to go here. I believe, if I recall correctly, and then I told them to move forward, and they're kind of squishing. And at a certain point, they'll kind of end up in a weird angle here. It's kind of funny. And again, another thing that I like about this game is those kinds of little things that can happen. So, I'll just show you. So, like, these guys have got 138, 141, 231, 230. Now, those might seem like a lot of kills. But you got to remember, they've been firing for a while here, and these are all peasants. I mean, most of these guys that they're firing at don't have any armor, don't have shields. So it's going to be doing a lot of work. Oh, here's another thing I could talk about just real quick is that, and this is again about the Attila engine, I'm going to call it. But in Attila in this game, they have roaming AI. So one of the things is civilians. All right, civilians are in this game. They are in whenever you're defending, or well, you'll be attacking too, but they're part of the defending player's army, if you will, because they will. Some of them will attack enemy, units. So if these guys run off or whatever, if I manage to get through here and have like a unit of troops walk through this area, there's a percentage of these guys who will either run away and run into designated. So you see there's a house here that there's a designated like loading zone, whatever you call it. Here's another door. That was another one. There's a percentage of them who will run screaming into these houses. There's a percentage who will run screaming out of the settlement, and there's a percentage who will attack the units that you have. You can't click on them. You can't click on your unit and then click on these guys to attack. That was something somebody was asking me about. If you want to attack them, which I do, I think it's fun to murder, run down innocent civilians. If you want to do that, you can just walk through the area, have your unit walk through this area, and they will engage any of these guys who comes and attacks them, or that they run into. So it just kind of happens. Now, the other thing that happens with sieges with these guys is, like, let's say 20 of them run into this building here. Well, if this building catches on fire, they'll all run out of that building. So they're kind of a dynamic, important part of the siege element that I don't think a lot of people, like most YouTubers, most people just kind of ignore it. And I actually really love it. I've even read some people who said they don't like it. You know what I mean? And the only reason I could see for that is, like, if your system is not very good and you can't handle the extra few people, whatever it is. So, but aside from that, it's immersion. It's actually, it's like one step closer to having breathing, living awesome settlements that are then the best kind of backdrop for really good sieges, which is why I love them. And the other thing that is in this game, as well as Attila, although it's not as common in this game, so I don't know if I can find any, but there are roaming animals in this game and Attila. It's something I'm going to modify when I get around to it. Again, I don't have a lot of time, so I do what I can in the time that I have. But there's a script that tells what animals, how often they show up, at what times of day. I think the only ones currently I think that are scripted in there are deer. But there's wolves in there that we can put in there. There's elephants. See, I don't see anything right now. But if you look for, just look around for them and you might see them. And to you that might not, and there obviously there's birds, but I think there's birds even in Warhammer, I think. But it's one more thing that I think adds to a more realistic, more whole immersive game. Let's see, finally these guys started. I immediately made these guys target number 1 because they have 284 kills and they probably just started shooting a little bit ago. I think they were like really hammering my. I ran in these G militia to help out the spear guards and my champion, and these guys were like at full health. Most of the damage these guys have had, about 200 is because of those archery masters. So they just really cut them down. But so, animals and civilians, maybe some people don't like them. I don't know why. It's not something I could understand why you wouldn't like, other than, performance issues. Because it's not, they don't really, like the civilians, even if you have them, like I have them more aggressive than they are in vanilla, and I have them, there are many more of them in my mod than there are in vanilla. Like in vanilla, I think like 4 times the number or something like that in the cities. So, but even in my mod, they're not really. They can really pretty much be ignored. Like they will be a nuisance, and they can kill people. But like full units don't really have to worry about them. If you have like a unit of 15 horsemen, actually I think it happens later in this battle. Although it's not civilians that haggle them so much as the towers. But I think I have a unit of 3 guys that manages to live, and I'm trying to capture these towers. The civilians might be an issue for that. There's 3 of them. But if you have a unit of 600 dudes, or even in vanilla, the vanilla numbers, it's not really a huge issue. So I think I kind of get a little impatient, want to move things around. I think actually it's these guys right here that I'm really wanting to get at. Yeah, they already have, in the span of me talking here for like a minute, they've killed another 150 dudes. So they're definitely like, machine gun vanilla right now, trying to take them out as best I can. They're definitely target of primary concern. They've routed my G militia with how many of the guys they've killed. Unfortunately, not a good idea to send horses into spearmen head on, but I just really wanted to get to those archery masters. And Huang Xiao is coming in here, the yellow turban general who our faction leader who starts next to Kong Rong. Kong Rong's been like my go-to guy. I really like him. Shout out to Party Elite. I'm loving that Kong Rong playthrough, or was loving it before the game came out. But that's I've heavily changed up how generals work. I'm still really doing heavy work on progress stuff on that. lot of kills on these Spear Guards. I think hopefully I send in my general here any minute. I think I noticed that he's not moved forward, and kind of tell him to move his ass here in a second. And they kind of come off this defensive area here. You know, barricades, a lot of I like barricades. I like the sieges. This might be a little bit of a controversial statement, but I actually think that Attila modded has some of the best sieges in this series, perhaps in my opinion the best. So I really liked this. I knew that this was going to have good sieges for me anyway, and with the exception of just lack of variety of maps, which has been a staple Total War problem for like a while, it's good. They're good. I really like them. So I really hope that we have the possibility of modding in custom maps per settlement for the campaign map, like they're doing with like what we're doing with Warhammer. But for right now, I am liking where things are for my mod, at least. I realize probably most people won't like this kind of thing, so it's definitely for people who are more interested in maybe older style Total Wars. But one of the things I wanted to do, I'm really kind of finagling a lot with the heroes, because I normally am big on realism. I've said this in other videos, but for this game and for my mod for this game, I really hesitant to call it a realism mod, because I'm not going 100% on the realism. I want to have characters that are very much like, because I'm concentrating on records mode, but I still want to have characters that are very much heroic and not really realistic in that sense. Like, for instance, right now, the only single character guy I have is Lu Bu. So I kept Lu Bu. Everybody else is a general unit. They might have smaller or bigger bodyguards. But Lu Bu is a single entity unit, and he was basically going to be like how he is in Romance. But in records. Although he won't kill people as fast. Like in Romance, they kill. Everything happens so quick, it's ridiculous. He's going to have a more realistic time to kill sort of thing. So I don't know if he would get 2,000 kills in one game or whatever it is, but it'd be impressive if he did. It would probably take the whole 60 minutes. But he's going to be very tough. He's going to be like a boss, almost a mini boss, and it's going to be something you actively try to avoid if you are playing in campaign. And that's not realistic at all. That's 100% non-realistic. And I have a lot of characters who are very strong, but that's just the way I wanted to do. I realize, again, not everybody's going to like that, but kind of, it's my mod, so doing it how I want to do it. It's always the way I want to do it. So, but I'm trying to get the balance right, because to me, and I hate using that word, I shouldn't have used that word, I'm very anti-balance, that word. Nothing in war is balanced. Nothing in warfare history was equal or measured. Everything that happened was unequal and not measured, as a matter of fact. So that will be the case for the mod. That's how it was for Warhammer. That's how it's going to be for this mod. There won't be like we got to try to equalize things for the various factions and various units, even on the campaign scene. You know what I mean? Like, if a faction should, because they did historically have access to certain things that other factions shouldn't, and it's going to make them OP, as you might say, then that's the way it's going to be. They're going to be OP. You know, if you want to play them in that campaign or whatever, then you're going to have an easier time. If you're going to play a minor faction who maybe doesn't have that, then you're going to have a harder time. And this is the way that I sort of do things. And so I don't, when I say balance, what I'm talking about is the heroes, I want them to have certain outcomes. I want them to be very powerful, but they should also be able to be killed, and it shouldn't take you 20 minutes of surrounding them to kill them. And right now, the way I have it currently, they are really tanky, and so they can take like 10 minutes of straight just hitting them to kill them, which isn't where I want them. but they are better than like vanilla, where they would be like a lawnmower. They just go through people like no issue whatsoever. So I finally, like I said, I've kind of been funneling guys in through this side, and we've breached this first defensive layer over here, and we're pushing them back. And eventually I'm going to send some units over this little bridge here to hit that barricade. But now they're sending in, they're bringing, Huang Shao is moving back. They're moving forward peasants. They still have some archers. And these guys over here are still working on these very depleted peasant spearmen. I think a bunch of my archers at this point are running out of ammo. Yeah, all of them but one. I think I'm saving him, I think, for some select targets. I did get rid of those archery masters, but those guys really put a real big hurt on me, and that is going to have a major role later in this battle because, like I said, this battle does deplete me. I basically, it becomes like a war of attrition, and I just barely win, I guess is the best way to put it. So another thing is my mod heavily messes with like fatigue and more. All the things that happen in battle are completely changed basically, and one of those things is fatigue. I mean, not fatigue. Well, fatigue, yes, morale. And right now, you'll notice that things aren't really running. Especially, I'm talking about the Yellow Turban specifically. Is they're not really like some of them are retreating. This unit is shattered, but it's very low. These two units are extremely low in health. This guy's just now beginning to rout. But that is because they are defending on a siege map. So when you defend on a siege map, unlike vanilla, there's a large moral buff that you get from that, which actually can be countered. By the way, this is something that isn't in Attila and vanilla Three Kingdoms. Is if you destroy the city, like let's say you have archers and they have fire arrows. If you start like nuking the city, if you destroy enough of it, they will start having a debuffs to like their morale, and I think there might be debuffs to their melee defense. I can't remember, but it's definitely morale. They have a debuff to that, so they start moving in units from over here over to this other side because they are seeing, oh well, we're not doing so hot over here. Time to reinforce. And the AI did actually a reasonably good job in this game. I was surprised because I don't really give the AI in Total War a lot of credit. Actually, the AI in Total War is horseshit most of the time. If they do well, it's because of coincidence, not because it was designed to do well. And that is the truth for this battle, I will say. However, as far as AI for siege battles, in the entire spectrum of the series, this is high because I haven't really begun to mess with the AI yet, and the only things I can do are kind of minor anyway. But so I'm fairly happy with how they handle this, enough so that they almost beat me. And in my current Kong Rong playthrough, are giving me a lot of trouble actually, which I like, because it certainly wasn't the case when I was playing vanilla. So another thing, I'll just mention this real quick because I think it's funny, is that for some reason, I'm trying to think, I believe it's only the Eastern Total War games I've done, Shogun and Three Kingdoms. They didn't really do this too much with like Rome 2 that I recall. Definitely didn't do it too much with Warhammer. But they done this thing where like factions are really, everything's kind of color coded, and it's more about like your faction color, and then like everyone in your faction wears like uniforms that are that color, and that's just not really historically accurate at all, and it looks weird to me. It looks like I'm playing red versus blue, and it really screws with my like immersion. I don't know how other people view. I mean, other people must not care it really bugged me in Shogun because as an armor smith, samurai armor is one of my Eastern armor, but specifically samurai armor is one of my favorites to look at, to make, to really acknowledge the beauty in. It's some of the most pretty armor in the world, I think, is Japanese armor, and kind of the clothing that comes, because the Japanese armor specifically, it's also the undergarments. It's not just the armor, and so there's so much variety and colors that go into that, and it just didn't really show in Shogun. Believe it or not, there was, I think, one mod that tried to, but I haven't played Shogun in a while. But so I'm going to try my best to have a more variety in the units and have more of a historically authentic look, because this is far too uniform, and everybody in the Yellow Turban Army, or everybody who was in the Yellow Turban Rebellion, the civilians who were in the Yellow Turban Rebellion, they didn't wear yellow tunics and all have matching yellow tunics. That's not how that went down. And to me, it looks really weird. Other people, again, it might even be better for you, because you can see, okay, these are my guys and those are those guys, blue, yellow. I like it, I dig it, I can tell what's going on, and if that's the way you like it, have at it, man. 100%, do it your way. But I think it looks much better and is more authentic if there is, more realism put into the way the units look. As you can see, I think Zheng Yan is kicking ass over here. He's got 383 kills. Now see, he's only got 51 guys in his bodyguard. There is I'm trying to find, there he is. All of the sort of generic, this is a commander, that's a champion, strategist, they all kind of have their own things going for them. That's probably going to become more and more important as the mod continues. I circled around here with my cavalry. These guys were retreating, but they weren't going fast enough, and I kind of wanted to head in. So I took them around. I think I'm going to end up trying to hit this archery unit in the back here, and end up actually. This happens to end up Fubar. I'm not really sure. I just gave him the click order, and then it didn't really work out the way I wanted it to. But that's another thing, is cavalry. Cavalry is kind of OP and too weird. I don't like the way most stuff works in vanilla, but especially Cav, because Cav, it's kind of a hard topic, because no Total War game has ever gotten Cav right, historically right. The closest thing is one of my favorite mods, NTW3 for Napoleonic Total War. This is the closest they've gotten to having cavalry be right, because the whole thing with cavalry is they don't actually impact. They don't do a charge and then impact a line of people. That's not how cavalry charges in real life. If you took a formation of people and then hit them with a formation of horses, you would all of the horses would fumble and break all kinds of bones, and the people on top, everybody get hurt. It wouldn't end well, and it didn't really happen. If it did happen, people usually died, and it wasn't a good thing. So what usually happened is that a cavalry unit would basically intimidate or scare a formation of infantry into running, and then because the formation is broken up, the horses are then able to move between the people and rout them and kill them while they're running. So most cavalry, most cavalry casualties, I guess you could say, are from the rout, not from the charge. So that's a nice charge. So, I mean, it is kind of a Total War thing to have this, the impact of charges be a thing. And even I kind of have acquiesced to that a little bit here. And, that might have not have been a big impact, but it was an impact, and they did some damage. But the main usage, and see, they're going to run away. The main usage of cavalry in my mod is going to be to rout things, not necessarily to do damage, because as soon as these guys get into any kind of cavalry, even the heavily armored shack cavalry, get into combat, especially with things like spears, they're just going to die. That's not what they're designed to do. If you are a dude on a horse, you are not designed to have a stand-up fight, with a guy who's infantry, especially with a spear. You're not designed to do that. It's much harder for you. It's much more difficult for you to defend yourself. If you have lots of room to maneuver, and you can kind of run around him and do circles like that, yeah, that's all right then. But that's not. We're talking about formations of infantry that then have a couple horsemen stuck in them, and now they can just 15 guys can stab this dude and his horse. It's not a good thing. Doesn't end well for Cav. So Cav's main purpose is to rout things and then chase down the routing infantry. So as you'll notice, I'm completely using them wrong in what I'm doing right now. I have some excuses for that, but that's me being dumb. But also exploiting. I mean, that's not 100% how they do work, even in my mod. Again, they do some damage on the charge. Their biggest thing is still morale, so they will. And see, now I've just taken enough casualties over here where these guys have now running, and now I'm getting to the point where I'm like, oh, this is a little meh, because I'm having to use my reserve archer militia who are out of ammo in the role of infantry, which is where you should not be. This cavalry attack that I had done over here did not go well. They charged and routed, and unfortunately these archers are just mowing them down. And now he's coming in, Big Daddy Huang over here.
Look, the enemy run. Craven.
And they're just gonna get stomped by these guys. To me, there's almost no point in bringing this cav unit over, because I know they're just gonna get routed. But yeah, this is so we're about 26 minutes in, or 36 minutes in, I'm sorry. And so you see where I'm at in the siege. We haven't gotten too far, but they've gone down several layers of defense here. I'm still fighting on this bridge. We've kind of moved in. You can see that handy feature there. And look at all those bodies. Whew.
The enemy warriors are running.
Yeah, one of the reasons I was running those cavalry in like I shouldn't have, is I really just wanted to force these guys to run. So I wanted them to run as soon as possible, because the sooner these guys all rout, the sooner I can hit these guys in the back, the sooner I can come around and hit these guys in the back, which is what I want to do right now. So I think I've got maybe one. This is my reserves of archers rout ammo, and then I think my one fresh unit of G militia. Sorry for the little bit of lag, but so you can tell by the way that these guys are moving, like the formations are moving in general. This doesn't look like vanilla, and that's because there's all sorts of things that you can change that add up to units that don't have like that 0.01 reaction time frame, where you just like tell them to click something, the entire unit like rotates in unison and then runs in that direction like they're all robots. Like if you give a unit an order, it takes, there's like a slowdown, there's the formation kind of breaks apart depending on if they're more elite or not. These are things that are new, especially the formations. There are things that I could do in this game that I couldn't do in Warhammer, that leads to a much more realistic look, feel, and the physics of the battle, which I really like. So my commander, Wang Zhu, 354 kills, baby. And they're both kind of depleted. Unfortunately, I wasn't thinking about this now, but the way generals are right now, especially the bigger, heavier ones that have been, leveled up or like champions or whatever, are hard to kill for like G militia. You have a shit ton of them, and they have this guy right here. He's got 25k left of health, and then he's still got 37. And my heroes could not go toe-to-toe with them right now the way they are. So it's not something I'm thinking about right now, but I will encounter that before the battle's over and kind of regret when I was using them so vigorously over here. So I finally get these guys to rout, and then what I have to do here is I have to hit these guys in the back, and I have to start applying pressure over here. And I believe, I haven't done it yet, but yeah, see, they still have this unit that has basically full ammunition, which isn't good for me. That's another reason I'm trying to go as fast as I can here, because the longer this little engagement takes, the longer I'm just going to get peppered with arrows here. And while it's not killing people super quickly, it is having a long-term effect, and they are getting kills. These guys are already up to 200 kills, and a lot of that was my cav that they massacred. But yeah, I think they killed my... Maybe I can show you... No. None that I see.
Look, the enemy run.
Okay, so they went from routing to shattered like that, and that's real good news. That means I just got to clean them up. There's still enough guys over here, well, these guys specifically, that I would want to clean them up a little bit so that they shatter and they won't just rout and come back. But I need to start applying pressure over here as well. Start off the UI here. I should have done that actually earlier. Sorry. Apologies. I'm not really a video maker. I'm not really a YouTuber. It's all kind of making videos is a little new to me. Probably not the best at it, so certainly apologize for the lag spikes. I have a good computer, but it's not amazing. And so far, I think the biggest battle I've had with my mod in the campaign has been like 29,000 troops, which did have lag, but was very fun. So we're coming in here. I think I have, these guys I'm going to be charging in here in a second, I think. There you go. And they hit me from the side here with a returning unit, which is a little annoying, but thankfully, again, these guys are peasants. They're not a huge issue. I think I'm going to end up sending in some help. One thing I get commented on, sometimes people say, why your mod is ridiculous because everything's in slow motion. People are used to vanilla speeds, and vanilla speeds are Benny Hill ridiculous craziness. This guy right now, he might look like he's not going very fast, but he's actually running at a really decent pace there. I mean, if you really pay attention to like how big this house is, so these guys are very tired, so they're gonna have a slight deduction to their, well, not even slight, it's a deduction to their speed. And then considering that the running in this game, like the way I've done it is running, when you have a unit running, they're not sprinting. This is not you going full-on sprinting. This is like a, it's like a jogging. Okay, this is how military, when militaries campaign and they have units that maneuver, they don't really maneuver at a run. They maneuver at a jog, maybe is the best way to put it. They're not sprinting. I don't know. I'm not a runner, so I don't know the terminology, but they're not sprinting. Maybe you would still call that running, but they're not going full out. They're keeping a good pace, and they're not exhausting themselves. This is what the running in my mod is, and it's evident, I guess you would say, with horses, because a few people have said they think cavalry's too slow. That's another funny thing is, perhaps some people notice this, is sometimes when you get the camera around horses that are standing still, their heads will follow your camera, like right here. I think that's kind of funny. So, but when cavalry is maneuvering, again, they're not maneuvering at I think canter is the word. They're not maneuvering at a canter. They're maneuvering at a trot, I think. I might be getting the terminology there a little messed up, but again, it's not a sprint. They're jogging. There is an exception, and that is when people are charging. Usually they go at a faster pace. Not always. Sometimes a charge is a walk, believe it or not, but a lot of times charging will be a sprint, for the intimidation factor or for whatever you're trying to achieve. And that is when people are going, fast in my mod, I guess you could say, is when they're at the charge. But even then, I mean, these speeds are like, I can't recall. It's almost half. I don't think it's quite half the speeds of vanilla, but it's almost half, I think. If you go look at the entity files in vanilla, you'll find out for yourself. It's meters per second is what you're looking at. So I can't remember what vanilla is, and to be honest with you, off the top of my head, I can't remember what. I think it's like 1 point something, 1.3, 1.4, maybe. Might be like 1.2. I have mine set at, and vanilla's like, oh god, I'm gonna be wrong here, but it might be close to 2. It's either like close to 2, or a little bit above 2. One of those places for walking. So, and then running and charging actually go up exponentially. But Vanilla's, it's Benny Hill ridiculous craziness. I don't know how people. I don't know. I mean, I personally, again, I can't play it. Thank God that thank baby Jesus that this game is moddable. Because current Total War games, if they weren't moddable, I wouldn't play them. I never would have played Warhammer 2, Warhammer 1 if it wasn't a moddable game. Vanilla is for me, it's crock of shit. I would never. Vanilla is like unplayable for me. Other people like that. Other people want a 2 to 5 minute battle, a major engagement that, I don't get it. I'm not gonna, trying to justify it or trying to understand it. To me, would just sound insincere because I don't understand it. But I know people like it, so I'm actually happy that that's an option, because that's the way Total War has been going for a while now. Is it's becoming more and more arcadey. With each iteration, it kind of like a little bit more so. Some things become more realistic, some things go back, but the general, it's more and more arcadey generally. So, but that also brings in a larger and larger audience, because it's more like mainstream, more people who aren't like really hardcore history or tactical strategy buffs can get into it, and so they sell more, and so it becomes a bigger franchise and more stuff can happen. And I'm 100% behind that. The only thing I would say is I'm 100% a modder. I hope that Total Wars continue to be in the future extremely moddable. I hope they continue to be only more moddable, because you can keep all your bases, all your fan bases, like CA can keep all their fan bases if they keep these features in place. If they allow modding and make it easier in the future for games, even if they make those games more arcadey, they're going to keep their hardcore realism guys, maybe the older school guys, if you want to call them that, who enjoyed like Rome, who enjoy like a specific set of the material. They're gonna keep those guys around longer. They're not gonna lose me or other people, and I hope they don't, because it's my favorite series by far is Total War. I'm a huge Total War fan. I've been around since Shogun 1. and hopefully continue to be around in the future, again, as long as there's modding. I was going to say, so I'm not going to speculate on what the next like historical game they do. I can only say I hope it's either Medieval 3 or Shogun 3. And it probably won't be Shogun 3 because it's too soon. Like, we're farther away from Medieval than we are from Shogun. So if it's going to be one of those two, it's probably more likely to be Medieval. And I'll tell you a specific feature I really hope they have that they kind of upgrade from this system, which is right now they have the retinue system that's new for this game that some people don't like. I love it. I think it's awesome, and here's what I'm going to tell you why. So for most armies in the ancient medieval worlds, and I'm using that as, you know, we're talking the BCs, like 2000 BC all the way up to, I mean, that might be a little far back, beyond my expertise for sure, but, you know, all the way up to, like, I don't know, maybe mid 1600s, late 1600s, a lot of armies, and that's a little late, but there's some in that period, but most military forces were like, they weren't professional, and the way that they were raised and used was usually directed by a specific personality. So I'll give you the analogy for medieval warfare. Most armies in medieval warfare were comprised of lots of little armies that were themselves civilians who are raised from an area that your lord owned. So, like, let's say you were a peasant who was on, you know, the land that Lord, you know, who gives a fuck, Lord who gives a fuck owned. So Lord who gives a fuck owns the land that you live on, and so you're a peasant in his, you know, his king in his you know, fief or whatever, and so you're then liable to him to serve in his forces when he needs to raise forces because the king wants to go fight something, or even when he wants to go fight something. You know, if the Lord wants to have a little battle with his neighbor or something over control of who knows what, then you're raised to his forces. Now, these forces wouldn't necessarily be loyal to the king. Often they were more loyal, or like their lord's lord, who wasn't always a king, but they're more often loyal to the sort of head personality of their army. So this happens a lot in medieval warfare, where, like, let's say there's a battle going on, and Army A is comprised of, like, the king and, like, 5 lords, and Army B is comprised of, like, a separate, you know, guy who wants to be king, and then, like, 3 armies. Well, there might be, like, a 4th kind of in-the-air army that is, like, you know, is buddies with both of the guys, and it's like, I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Maybe even this person is like, I'm going to fight for B over here, and then in the middle of the battle, it's like, man, I'm going to go fight for A because I don't like how this is turning out. I think I'm going to go, you know, switch sides in the middle of it. So this isn't really a plausible thing that could have happened in prior Total Wars. There's no way that, you know, even heavy modding wouldn't have been able to achieve something like that. But now that we have the retinue system, I don't think it's currently possible, not in Three Kingdoms, but damn sure it would be something cool to happen in the next game, is like a system in which if you don't, let's say you don't have this person's complete satisfaction and loyalty in campaign, or even if, like, the enemy has been working on them, and keep in mind, I don't really know how the, I realize I haven't messed it all with the spy mechanic in this game, and I'm not sure, like, I know you can have your spy go and, like, take over an enemy army, but I'm not really sure how that, I'm not sure if you just, like, you click a button and then you get that army. I don't think it can happen in the actual battle, like they can switch sides during the battle. I'm not sure, though. I haven't used that feature, but it would be super cool if that would be a mainstay feature of the next Total War game, if it happens to be one of those 2 games, and not just for, like, spies, like legit, like if you're B king and you know you have a war with A king, and Lord Gangster Pop over there is not like a super 100% sure what he wants to do. You can you know, like, butter him up. You can be like, hey, we're about to have a big battle here, but if you help me out on my side, I will, you know, promise you so and so land or such and such whatever. And even if, you know, like, even lords who are maybe not on the fence, or you don't think are on the fence, maybe this guy's vouched you know, I will be fighting for my king over here. Maybe you could have some other cool intrigue things where you're like, well, you know, your king doesn't know about it, but I actually kidnapped your family, and if you don't switch sides during this battle, you know, I'm going to fuck you up because we're going to kill your family. So, all kinds of cool things with that can happen. I really hope are in the next Star Wars. So, I've slowly been whittling down these two Yellow Turban heroes. And I think I actually started... See, as you can see, my army is really depleted. Look at the numbers here. Can I see that? Yeah. So I started out with 7,000... Okay, it was 2-1 and not my favor, so definitely not a good idea for sieges. But I started with like 7,500, and they had about 1,500. And... We're still keeping the same ratio, basically. It's still basically 2-1 in my favor. But it's not... You know, I didn't want to lose... Whatever that is, like 70% of my forces. And I like the harsh recruitment time in this game, like the replenishment. And you really feel that in campaign if you do something like what I did in this battle, which I like. Definitely having trouble with these bridges. I'm just trying to surround these guys. If I can kill these two generals or at least get them to rout, I can really cause some morale penalties with this army. They've even started coming back a little bit.
Move out quickly.
I think I'm waiting for them to... I'm trying to just getting these guys to maybe not be so fatigued. They are exhausted, which means they're close to useless. Okay, there's about 5 minutes left. I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward a little bit.
March at the double.
Yeah, see, I'm not a huge... These guys are just too tanky right now for me. Like, I haven't gotten it to where I want them to be, where I have them where I want them. Because I want them to be generals units, unless they're, like, specific people who I want to be basically heroic beyond even the... Like, Guan Yu, Shang Fei, and Lu Bu are the people who come off the top of my head. To me are the most, like... I want them to be OP, badass mofos. And so they will be a little tanky, but these guys right here are too tanky to where I want them to be right now. But it's kind of hard to do, to have that system work out the way you want it to. So it's definitely going to require me to play with it a lot. I think I'm close. She's got about 1.2k, so she's real close. And I think even he's having a duel with her, and he's gonna win that duel. Yeah, she's at like 300 health. Oh, that sucks.
Show no mercy.
See, I think I got, and again, I got enough like mooks on these two generals and got their health low enough that I now feel confident that I can fight them with my generals. Like, he's got 10k and he's only got 2.1. So I'm like, yeah, he's good enough. He can fight him now. But earlier I had to work on them a little bit. At one point in the battle, and I've been too busy talking to really zoom in on the details, which, again, I'm not a professional or very good video maker, so apologies about that. But I had to run him away from a full unit of this general's full unit and have him come around and hide behind the spearman or the G, so that they wouldn't get killed. And see, now this guy's all super buffed up because he has a fallen elder. That buff's way too much right now for the mod. Obviously, there's a ton of stuff that I haven't fixed yet that is going to be long-term, like me tweaking. Like, for instance, the fallen relative buff of plus 25% evasion, plus 7% armor and base damage, armor piercing and base damage. That's like super buff. You know, I can see somebody getting mad. The main problem with that in records mode, here's the main issue with that. If it was just applied to just the general in this bodyguards unit, it wouldn't be OP. The problem is that's applied to the entire unit. So this unit has 73 heavy cav in it right now, and that entire 73 heavy cav have like a crazy melee evasion, melee damage buff. And as you can see, my guys are not having fun right now. They all are like, all right, we're getting the fuck out of Dodge. This just got real bad. So I really, at this point, wow, I got a draw? I thought I won this. Maybe I did get a draw. Look at that, guys. So I didn't win. But, well, maybe it was the next battle then. But I didn't get a replay of that. But the main thing to figure here is that the sieges are way harder and they're long. Well, I mean, the battles in general are much longer, but the sieges are much harder, and you know, they have a lot more going on. There's a lot. I mean, watching the replay, it's easy to talk about all the decisions you made and what was happening and what was the follow through and what was going on. But while you're playing it, you're like, okay, what is my next step here? What do I got to do? How do I got to play this? What's the best choice? And the thing with vanilla is everything happens so fast that it's split-second decisions, and then there's no momentum. It's just like, I'm gonna charge this dude, and they both die immediately, like within 30 seconds, and then the match is over. There's momentum in my mod where, like, if you choose a decision, if you later regret that decision, you can't really make, you know, if you send a heavy cavalry charge in the front of spearmen, or like a bad situation, if you just send them straight in at a bad situation, it's gonna have a long lasting detrimental effect on that battle that you then feel later in the battle. Like, your decisions have weight, they carry importance. When you do something that's stupid, you feel it then later. It's not something that everything happens so fast that nothing matters. Like, what's the point? It doesn't matter. Just shoot them with arrows anyway. Who gives a fuck? Like, you gotta have the things in battle that make battles important, interesting, and engaging. That's super important. I really like the sieges in this. I hope it's just gonna continue to get better. So this video is just me talking about this stuff. I'll do a better sort of shorter battle video probably later, or specifically probably also a little bit of the campaign gameplay, because I want to talk about the future of what the mod's gonna hold, and do like a little kind of mini review for like a friend of mine who was kind of on the fence about buying the game. But all right, guys, I hope you have a great day.